All right, hi guys. My name is Adie Weller, and I am a student in Professor Pisano's Lang 120 course. So we were given the assignment of doing a research project on food and Asheville specifically. So I chose to examine the importance of barbecue in Western North Carolina, and specifically in Asheville. Throughout the course of my research, I discovered that North Carolina barbecue is an iconic Southern foodway that unites communities, despite any racial, political, religious, or economic disparities, and one which creates a social identity which is inherently linked to its location. So, in order to fully understand the importance of barbecue, we need to first understand its history. The process of barbecuing, of cooking a meat over low temperature for a long period of time, has been around for centuries. It even appears in Homer's The Iliad, which was written in about the 8th century BCE. But what we would consider barbecue today first originated in the 1500s with the native Caribbean people. The native Caribbean people called it barboca, which the Spanish conquistadors translated as barbacoa, a word which you might recognize. Even then, the process of barbacoa was an all-night social gathering reserved only for special events. In the British colonies, George Washington himself recorded in his journals going to these all-night barbecue parties. So barbecue has been used as a political prop since the foundations of this country. In 1766, the royal governor of North Carolina held a barbecue in an attempt to satiate the new Hanover militia. But a group called the Sons of Liberty saw it as an act of surrender to the British and decided to throw the hog in the river. In 1815, the Populist Party decided that the reason they lost Cabarrus County was because the Democrats had held a barbecue just a few days before the election. The former editor of the Raleigh Times, Herbert O'Keefe, said, "No man has ever been elected governor of North Carolina without eating more barbecue than was good for him." So barbecue was more or less the same across the state of North Carolina until the 1930s, when German immigrants began to add ketchup to their barbecue sauce, which was reminiscent of a dish that they made in Germany. Commercialized ketchup, such as Heinz, was becoming very popular, and it was a very inexpensive way to add that tomato flavor to the sauce. This led to barbecue as we know it today here in Asheville. So I decided to go to 12 Bone Smokehouse. Some of you may have heard of it. This is a place Obama has been multiple times and reportedly influenced his decision on where to live after he was finished with his presidency. There, I interviewed a woman who told me what barbecue means to her. She grew up on it, and she associated it with playing with her cousins, with cooking with her family, and with the carefree times of her youth. When I asked her why she thought barbecue was so popular in the South, she said that it was a brief moment when it didn't matter what church you went to, or how big your paycheck was, or what color your skin was. Author Michael Pollan also noted this unifying quality of barbecue. He said that at the height of the civil rights movement, one thing that united people, no matter what their beliefs might be, was good barbecue. He said the only thing that had a similar effect was fighting alongside someone in the Vietnam War. So people have always come to Asheville to experience something different. Whether that was the Biltmore, the views, or just the culture, people have always flocked to visit Asheville. But now they're coming for a slightly different reason. They're coming to experience the barbecue. Author Lucy Long defines this as wanting to experience the other, wanting to experience something different, but which is also linked to identity. So as the population of Asheville changes, so does the social identity. Just as barbecue developed with the native Caribbean and the Spanish, and then the German immigrants in the 1930s, it's developing today. There exists meat cooked like barbecue all over the world. Latin America, as we spoke about before, has barbacoa. Argentina has asado. India has tandoori, just to name a few. People from different cultures bring their own flavors and spices to barbecue, allowing it to become representative of the people that made it, and allowing it to remain a part of the social identity. So the truth of the matter is, I don't like barbecue. So when I came here from Colorado, I was fascinated by people who love this food that I found moderately repulsive. Here, I found that barbecue means so much more than food, but it's a tradition that unites families, neighbors, and friends. For many, it's a way of life. Like the foods that I grew up eating, I know that these flavors will never truly leave us, and that they will remain an immutable part of our identities forever. That's my references. Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
So if you don't like barbecue, what made you pick it?
Well, it was kind of that juxtaposition for me, because people here are so passionate about, I've seen fights almost break out. So I was just fascinated because I was like, why? I don't understand. But I feel like I learned at least something about it. Yes?
I'm personally curious, around Asheville, are more of the barbecue places focused on like the tomato-based sauce or more of the vinegar-based sauce?
There are definitely a lot of variations, and in a lot of places you can order the sauce that you prefer. Yes?
Were you expecting to find that barbecue had such deep cultural and anthropological roots?
I definitely wasn't. I knew that it was a typical Southern food that a lot of people seem to enjoy, but I had no idea how deep that connection really went. Yes?
Out of curiosity, is there a food like that that you have back home, back in Colorado, that is like, oh yes, I see.
Yeah, for me,
That one,
it's
right.
something called green chili, which doesn't have beans in it. It's a pork thing that I don't really know how to describe, but it's one of my favorite foods. And I came here and I was like, hey, do you guys have green chili? And everyone's like, what? So I've been trying to find green chili here and it just doesn't really exist. And then when I go back home, I make sure to stock up on it.
While you were studying about this one particular food, did you also find out that there were other foods that had just the same deep cultural roots as this?
Definitely, definitely. Many of the articles that I did research on included that, but I chose to focus specifically on barbecue. Yes?
You referenced Michael Pollan, and he wrote Independence of Food, and he largely claims that you should eat a mostly plant-based diet.
He did, yes.
So I'm just curious, like, do you think we can maintain this like culture, but like move towards a more less meat-based diet?
That's an interesting topic. Definitely including other proteins such as soy and other like pseudo meats, but maintaining that barbecue flavor would be one way to do that.
Bouncing off of her question, do you think maybe that it would become more like culturally significant if we went back to having barbecue just at big events that required like the smoking of several hogs instead of just having it available on a daily basis? Do you think it would make it more special or significant?
Well, I definitely would argue that it would make it much more special in that it would be a rarer occasion and it would be reserved for special events. However, in order for this to happen, there would have to be a great social shift. And so I don't really anticipate that happening in the near future, in that when people like food, they're not really willing to wait and save that.